Bet with Naira Bets. Bet any track, anywhere, anytime, including all 3 legs of racing's Triple Crown. Sign up now to claim your $25 free bet and $200 deposit match now through the first Saturday in May, only with Naira Bets.
It's KSR's Kentucky Derby 152 handicapping extravaganza. I'm Nick Roush, and as always, we are joined by Peter Thomas Fornatale. You know him as PTF from In the Money Media. The first Saturday in May is right around the corner, 5 days away. You're probably watching this sooner if you aren't watching it live. And if you aren't watching PTF on In the Money Media, what are you doing? The Monster Pod, it's locked, it's loaded. It's got details on every single horse in the Kentucky Derby. This is your busiest week of the year. I appreciate you joining us each and every Monday before the fastest 2 minutes in sports.
I love it. It's an annual highlight on the calendar. Always great to be with you and your viewers and hear what you have to say about some of these races. But yeah, this is Christmas, Easter, Ramadan. It's all rolled into one here for horse racing fans. We've got so much happening right now, so many cool things to bet on, and I just can't wait to talk with it all about you and hopefully give some winners.
All right. Well, I'm one of those a month ago, we're going into the final 5 preps, and I'm like, I don't know if I like any of these Derby horses. I don't think they're any good. And then here it is 5 days before, and I'm talking myself into all of them. So I hope that you can help me narrow my scope a little bit. But one thing that did happen on Saturday during the post position draw, it actually agitated me because I was ready to beat Renegade, and then he drew the 1 post. Should I be that much more confident, or do you think Renegade still has a shot here to win this race?
He absolutely has a shot, and it would be hyperbolic to say anything but that he has a shot. The question is, did a tough job get even tougher? Yes, it did. This is a horse who on figures and form makes all the sense in the world, but there's a lot of narratives conspiring against him, and at the price he's going to be, still being bet down to, gosh, I mean, he's still going to be 5-1, probably, maybe 6-1 at the outside, I would guess. Mm-hmm. And for a horse with so many questions in terms of a very tricky rail draw, I don't know how much you want to get into why that is, but we can if it would be of interest. You've got a trainer whose record is less than stellar in the race, despite many opportunities to win. He has won it twice. It's not like he's bad in the race exactly, but not a great record. You got a horse who, according to many keen observers, including Chris Couples, who works for me at In the Money Media as part of our inthemoneyplus.com Derby package, says isn't working as well as before some of his other races. You put this all in the hopper, and it says to me, in this deep and competitive Derby, there's more interesting horses.
Yeah, and I saw some people kind of looking like, hey, what's going on with his leg there and his workouts? And I don't know if I want to read too much into that, but it does feel like there's a storm swirling around Renegade that is certainly a fade play for me. But the other two, if you had to take the other 2 top choices, which are Further Ado and Commandment, I have liked Commandment because I thought that Florida Derby was the most impressive prep race of the year, the most competitive. And he keeps finding ways to gut it out, gets him at the wire, and you're telling me he's going to get an extra quarter mile when it really looks like he's speeding up? I guess my question for you, PTF, you got Commandment, you got Renegade, you got Full Effort. It feels like there are 8 closers. Are there too many closers? Will there be enough pace in this race for a closer to make that final charge? And of the closers, which one do you like the most?
Well, my short answer is yes, because it's the Kentucky Derby and jockeys will get aggressive. Even in years where the Derby is referred to as a slow Derby, it's not really slow, it's honest. And most years it's out and out fast. That's part of it. Is with all the money on the line, with all the prestige, with all the adrenaline, you're going to get horses showing more speed than they've ever shown before, and that should set it up for a closer. Which one will get the right trip is another question. Another reason why I think the pace will be fast is that a couple of the foreign runners might be the speediest of the bunch. So where in our traditional past performances, not seeing them as clearly necessarily as some of the local horses, but 6 Speed, I think, will be out there in the vanguard. I also think Denon Bourbon is a horse that will be out there. So I do think it's going to set up for a closer. It also doesn't mean a front runner can't win, but because it's such a big field, you probably want to be more along the lines of a mid-pack closer than you do the deepest of closers. And that might be the biggest problem, to button up the thought I was getting into before about the problem with the Renegade draw. I think he almost has no choice around Ortiz. He's going to risk getting a really rough trip if he tries to get any kind of position going forward. I think he's got to go to last and try to circle them all. I think some of his competition is going to be in better attacking position, and that could see them to better effect here.
So it is, for me, one angle that I can't get away from are the turfway horses, because I want to say 4 out of the last 5 years, one has finished in the top 4. Rich Strike, of course, had that improbable win. Two Phil's second. Final Gambit 4th last year. And Full Effort has I guess that's almost my worry, is that he's almost too identical to Final Gambit in almost every respect. But I like Full Effort. And this turfway angle, the turfway horses did outstanding at Keeneland. And, what can I say? I'm a sucker for Brad Cox. He's a South End guy, South End Louisville guy like myself. So there's a little bit of bias there. But am I crazy to think that Full Effort could be a sharp long shot play, particularly after that good work he had last week?
It's not the wildest idea I've ever heard. The fact that he's here, that Brad persists with him and puts him here on the dirt, means he thinks he can handle it. You didn't make out well at the draw. This is a tough draw for this horse. I think he's going to have trouble getting any kind of position and saving any kind of ground to make the type of closing run we think is going to be what wins it here. But that draw, the fact that Cox has 2 more fancied runners in the race, by far more fancied runners than him, all mean you're going to get a good price on your homeboy there. And I wouldn't talk, let me put it this way. I wouldn't talk you off, but I'm also not going to lie to you. I'm not going to shine you on and say he's going to be on my tickets either.
Well, do you have a long shot that has caught your eye? Because I have maybe 2 more that have intrigued me. I'm curious which one you have your eye on at the bottom of that super and try.
Okay. It's such a tricky race to talk about this stuff, but sometimes in terms of like long shots and what they mean and what we're trying to do with them. For specifically those wild horses that could, or maybe even not so wild horses that could fill out lower rungs of exotics, there's 2 horses I'm going to have in 3rd and 4th on a whole lot of tickets. And one of them, the first one that I'll mention to you, is Silent Tactic, the 13. And he's a horse who's probably going to be like 20 to 1 range, I'm guessing. And I do not think he's good enough to finish in the top 2, but I do think he'll motor and fill out a lower spot. The one who's 30 to 1 on the morning line, who I think is interesting in a very similar way, is number 19, Golden Tempo. This is a horse also, I think it's maybe too much too soon in terms of trying to get him a win in a race like this. But I do think those are some of my lower down horses. There are horses listed at 15 to 1, 10 to 1 in here who I think can absolutely win. But in terms of that dinker type for underneath, those are the 2 that would come to my mind first: Golden Tempo and Silent Tactic.
I'd already mentioned Full Effort, but Incredibolt won twice at Churchill last year. And since COVID, Mage is the only Kentucky Derby winner that did not have a win at Churchill Downs on its resume. There's a little bit of a horses for courses angle that I like. And I got to say, PTF, I was out at the track this morning, and there weren't a ton of horses out there, but one of them caught my eye that I just hadn't even considered. And here I am on Monday, and I'm thinking, oh, gosh, am I going to have to bet this horse in this race? Emerging Market, just physically gifted, athletic, and I'm not one of those that can just eye a horse during a training session, say that one's got it. But, he looked natural. He looked poised. He looked like he was doing everything he asked him to do. And the other part of this is the Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt connection. And that is that Flavian Pratt stats. I had it pulled up just 1 second ago.
Oh, they're crazy. His Derby stats are like something out of this world, like an AI designed robot to ride in the Kentucky Derby.
1 win, 1 second, 4 thirds, and a 4th from 8 mounts.
in a 20 horse cavalry charge, where famously the best jockey in the world could have the worst trip just because it's so chaotic, he has managed to find himself on the right side of these things. look, you've got a good eye. Emerging market, all the horsemen I've spoken to who've clapped eyes on this horse have had nothing but nice things to say. He got the win at graded level in the Louisiana Derby in just his second career start. That's not easy to do. What he lacks in experience, he might have in terms of brilliance. This is another one. It could be too much too soon. If he were to run poorly, I wouldn't hold it against him. It's such a big ask. But at the same time, I do think he has that spark, that potential brilliance that he'll be on some tickets. And this was exactly who I was referring to when I was talking about a 15-1 shot. That's a legit win candidate. That sums up emerging market for me.
Well, in the other part too, when you watch that Louisiana Derby race, you make the great point. He doesn't have a lot of experience, but that race is as great of experience as you can get, where Pavlovian is way out in front. He's going to wire it in what is the longest prep race of the year. But emerging market just gutted it out. He was unfazed by it. Got a little crooked around the turn, but you straighten him out, and he might have just pulled away with it. So that is one I like I said, hey, we still got 5 days to make our picks, PTF. So we can still recalibrate and readjust as we go.
I don't have that luxury. I've filed my deadline. My deadline was yesterday, my friend. I've put it in there, and emerging market was the second horse listed in my verdict. I do these horse by horse write-ups for a website in England called attheraces.com.
Ooh, okay.
People might want to check out. We also always send those analyses around in our we do a free newsletter at In the Money, which is a great way to keep track of all the content we have in different media. Folks want to sign up for that. It's free. inthemoneypodcast.com/email. We'll get that sent right to you.
Well, if the verdict's already in, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for that. We'll tease the people just a little bit longer, because I do think there, as much as we see the pace, the setup, there's closer, there's this and that. Is there a horse that maybe doesn't go wire to wire out front, but is in that second bunch and then just kind of runs away with it and doesn't let any of those closers catch up to him? Because I in my mind, there are three that I'm kind of looking at that it's like, if this horse has the right trip and is in the right spot, like there's just nobody that can catch him. And the three in my mind were Further Ado, who just didn't have much competition at Keeneland, and then the two losers in the Florida Derby, the Puma and Chief Wallaby, which I know you're a Bill Mott guy, and you see Junior Alvarado, you see Bill Mott, like it feels like deja vu all over again. I tried beating Sovereignty last year. It was a big mistake. It was a huge mistake. And now he's putting blinkers on this horse after I've already lost 2 bets on Chief Wallaby. Am I finally going to get off him just in time for him to win the Kentucky Derby? I hope not. But what do you think of those sort of 3 horses clustered?
I'll deal with them one at a time. Further Ado is probably the candidate to get the absolute best trip in here. He's going to be able to run his race, I think, exactly as he wants from that post. I'm sure they were rooting for an outside post like that. Your man Brad Cox will be very, very happy. And there is, when you said that bit about get there and run away from him, well, that's the kind of brilliance Further Ado has shown. And if he somehow improves again off the bluegrass, that's exactly what he'll do. Having said that, and he's a major win contender, absolutely. The Puma's interesting. I mean, he's a talented horse. I've been looking at some of this GPS data we now have on horses, and I'm not fully convinced that the added ground is going to be his friend. And that same data points an arrow directly at the nose of the third horse in this question, Chief Wallaby. And spoiler alert, that's where I actually landed in this race. I've been a fan of him since that first race.
Yeah.
I feel like he has been brought along exactly as Bill Mott wants to bring him along. He was striding, according to that data, beautifully at the end of that race. He wasn't able to put the biomechanics to good use to actually have the closing speed to get there to those horses on the line. Maybe that was a little bit of focus. Maybe that's why the blinkers go on. Since he put the blinkers on, he's worked like a train. All anybody wants to talk about is how good this horse is working. Here's the bad news. This is a horse where 2 weeks ago when I was on TV in the UK, I'm looking at the markets over there and telling people, the other UK, United Kingdom, not, but I'm telling people you can bet this horse at 16-1.
No.
Now you're betting him at 6-1 over there. And there's even a contrarian vein of thought. I wrote about this in this new little blog / website I've been fooling around with, part of In the Money, called Daily to Derby. My headline on Daily to Derby today was, could Chief Wallaby go off as the favorite? It's still kind of a wild idea, but it's not completely impossible. And I certainly think he's going to be, well, maybe not certainly, but he's drawing very live to be amongst the first 3 betting choices. So I'm not as sure about the value. I'm not as sure about how I'm going to bet. I'm going to keep that exact thing in my pocket until I have to commit. But in terms of my pick, it's Chief Wallaby.
That is, we as a society, not just as sports fans, but we have a very short memory. So when you see all of those things, and then hell, Bill brought Sovereignty to Churchill to train right after his race at Oklahoma. So like, it's hard for us to not kind of get fixated on, well, why not just run it back? I mean, particularly after you watched, Burrell went on that run where he had 3 and 4, and then you had Baffert's run. I mean, and there was, it got a little hairy in there for old Bob Baffert. But those, I'm totally with you where I think he's going to take on quite a bit of money. But it's also funny that the Puma has a similar resume to Mage as well, and is even staying in Mage's same stall. I mean, trainer, like you just kind of go down the line. There's so many similarities.
Oh yeah,
and I think it's going to draw a lot of what we like to call dumb money. Some people call fun money. We'll call it fun money because usually it makes it more fun for
that's so much nicer, isn't it? Dumb money, public money. Public money is a euphemism, but fun money is like, hey, who doesn't want to have fun money?
Oh man, which speaking of, I know it's a bad bet, but I'm going to have to bet odd or even at one of these races just because of the silliness of it all, right? Like we're spending all this time talking about X, Y, and Z. Like, why not just odd or even? Let's flip a coin,
Oh my goodness, it is. If they could get the pricing right on that and make it a fixed odds bet, I think it could be actually really interesting.
Yeah, getting the fixed odds. I think that's coming. Not this Derby, but I think the next one.
We know from what's been happening in your legislature that it's the rule of law now, which is fascinating. I don't know how quickly that's going to happen and how it's going to take shape, but yeah, that's a great future segment for us once that gets up and running, because I'm a big fan of fixed odds wagering, and I think it's one of the best ways to grow the sport, because a lot of people in your audience, Nick, this is what they're used to having in their pocket and being able to bet on fixed odds, and it's very hard. I mean, I often picture a young sports bettor being interested in the Derby and betting 5-2 on a horse and it pays 8-5, and them saying, you know what, I'm gonna just bet the basketball. This is a real step into the 21st century for racing, and I'm glad Kentucky took this bold move, and very curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, especially when you're competing against the CAWs of the world, which at least fortunately for us, this is such a big weekend at Kentucky Derby 152. It's not just the one race. I know there's going to be a lot of money in those win pools, and that's the race that everybody's talking about. We're going to be asking you for your Derby horse all week long. We've touched on, I think 12 of the 20. We've covered quite a bit of ground here, but you are on Chief Wallaby. I am, man, it's going to be really hard for me to figure out all of this. I guess I get to reserve the right. It's probably going to be a Brad Cox horse, but I'm still juggling up here. I like to do the 5-horse trot box. It's just nice and succinct. It's easy. I feel like I don't get burned.
You got 3 Coxes for it. 3 Coxes. What do you think? Further ado and throw Wallaby in there, or do you want to pull for another long shot?
That actually sounds pretty darn good.
That leaves Emerging Market.
But I might have to put Emerging Market in there.
Yeah.
Make it a 6-horse. I don't know. Emerging Market is certainly like that. We're gonna have to dig a little bit deeper on that one, because I am my antennas are up. I had a candy rod. I like the breeding. So the one thing we did not mention though is the California connections in this race. So happy, Potente. I believe you actually might have said litmus test earlier, but it feels weird that we have Bob Baffert horses, one of which just ran, what was it, 57 and 5 furlongs? Like, just
put the other day.
An insane workout number. Granted, the track's fast. It hasn't rained a lot there. We're going to get some rain this week, but it's looking like it'll be pretty good Friday and Saturday. But Authentic did this to me, PTF, where I was just like, there's no way this horse can win this race. And he just completely blew up my bets. What are your thoughts on the California horses that are heading to Churchill Downs this weekend?
I'm generally not thrilled. I didn't think the Santa Anita Derby was great for him. I think the most interesting of the three might be Litmus Test. It's going to be very, very hard. You'd think he's going to just show speed from down there, and they're going to go as far as they can, as fast as they can. But for a horse that could be 50-1, you've got a beaten less than 2 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile on the resume. You've got a good-looking workout from the other day. His 59 from the gate was good, and then he has excuses in the last 2 races, and he's got Baffert calling the shots. So 50-1, do you need that much more? Probably you should, but if you made me pick one, that would be the one.
Well, we've covered plenty of ground with the Kentucky Derby. There's plenty more within the Money Media where you'll find all of PTF's work. I am a fan of the Monster podcast. Just pop it on the YouTube videos at night. But if you want to be more serious, you want to get some grid picks in the Money Media Plus, there's a ton more where you can find plenty of PTF's work. But first, Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah.
That happens on Friday. And one of my friends has been talking about how, hey, this thing is wide open. This thing is wide open. Don't bet any one of the favorites.
See, I agree with the first part, and I don't necessarily agree with the second part because it's so wide open, even at the top of the market, even favorites are going to quite possibly be very pleasing prices. One thing to note about the Oaks, and this is great for the crossover audience that you bring to the party here, in prime time for the first time, 8:40 Eastern, under the lights. I wonder if it's a little bit of a test run if they'd ever think about doing the Derby in such a time slot.
They've certainly tested the city of Louisville. The people around here are not very happy about the late start time.
I get it. It's not good for local business, right? Nobody's going out after.
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be happy. It's just more track time for me. But it should be a great race. I mean, Zany you've got Mike Rapoli and his big megaphone, tooting the gospel of Zany. And then Zany goes to Keeneland in the Ashland and gets taken to town by Percy's Bar in Percy's Bar's 3-year-old debut. When I was like, wait, this was this filly's first race this year, and she just blew by him.
She is very good, Percy's Bar. She's a very good form yardstick. I wouldn't be too harsh about the Ashland simply because of race flow reasons. This horse, Zany, I think was just, it was a short stretch race. She was far back. The pace was very slow early. And I thought she ran with credit. And she was wide when Percy's Bar was on the rail on a day when that wasn't a bad thing. I think there's not as much between them as that 2 1/4 length suggest. I think Zany can turn the tables on her. And I respect Percy's Bar, and she's another that would be on tickets. But if you made me just pick one, and, there are 7 you could pick in here. I agree it's an open race. But I think there'll be a lot of people are going to see it the way you just described. And maybe that's exactly the right way to see it, and I'm overthinking it. But I think now, I talked about that pace being slow. This pace almost has to be fast. I just think Zany's going to be seen to a lot better effect this time around. And I'm sticking with her.
Oh, okay. I have another horse that just, admittedly, when I look at a program, the thing I like most about a horse when I look at a program, boy, girl, whatever, if it's getting better every single time, sign me up. Right? Like that is just if I show up to Thursday night and I'm just looking at a claiming race, I haven't seen anything else, which horse is getting better and who I think can still get better, right? Like you'll see some horses that there's some outliers and it's like, well, they're not going to do that again. But Prom Queen, and I'm using Brisnet figures here, 86, 89, 95 in each of its last 3 starts, broke her maiden winning by 8, and then went out and took care of business in the Gulfstream Park Oaks. I like Prom Queen. Brad's fillies, he's so good with fillies. And I know I'm trying to will him to a Derby win, but he had the winner last year. Monomoy Girl, like you just keep going. She Dares the Devil. That was my biggest win ever with She Dares the Devil. And if you're telling me that I can get Prom Queen at 8-1, like sign me up.
She's a live contender in a loaded race. And like you say, Cox has won it 3 times. She gives a good opportunity for it to be 4. I don't mind the idea of keeping her on side. And it's an even deeper race than that. I mean, always a runner, the 9 runner, very interesting. Meaning, another one who's interesting. We've talked about 5, and there's other stories you could spin. I'll probably end up doing some keying with that group of contenders we talked about, with Zany being the one who I mix and match everything around.
I'm glad you mentioned the 9, always a runner, because my note was need to watch 9's last race because I like what I see. We're on the same page here. Before we let you go though, PTF, I mean, it's not just Oaks and Derby. It's a huge card. I mean, I believe like the first stakes race on Derby Day is at 12:40 in the afternoon. Like we have 7 more hours. Like that is a grade 1. The Derby City Distaff is at 12:30. We are coming in so hot. It is so exciting. Do you have any other races throughout the weekend that you've got your eye on? I would just, before I kick it to you, I would just want to mention the Ali Sheba race 9 on Oaks Day. The Ali Sheba. It's just a loaded field. Baeza, who was 3rd in basically every Triple Crown race last year, will go off as the favorite. But the one I wanted to mention was Tapan Street, because Tapan Street was awesome in the Florida Derby. The last horse to beat Sovereignty last year, but he gets hurt, and then he has to kind of slowly work his way back up. Didn't look great last time out, but I know the potential's there, and we might be able to get a good price in the Ali Sheba on Friday.
You just won't give up on your Derby pick from last year, will you?
I know. Yeah. I want to be right eventually.
But what do we call those? It's off a cliff horses. You'd follow him off a cliff, but no, the horse. It's a terrific race, and Baez is going to take a lot of beating. But I definitely get where you're coming from. I'll talk about 2 races really quick and 3 wagers. The first race is the Pat Day Mile.
And love it. Favorite gambling race of the it's
so fun. And Crude Velocity is going to take a lot of money in here. This is a horse that ran a very fast race in California last time, and it may have even been faster than the public figures have it. This is a horse that's already been mentioned as a possibility by Bob Baffert for the Preakness. So my thought here is watch the race, and I'll definitely use him maybe single, starting some pick 5, something like that. And then if he runs well at 6:00 on Saturday, did you know you can bet the Preakness before the Derby? There's a Preakness future wager that closes at 6:00 on Friday. And so any of your betting websites, any of your ADWs should have this. You look for the Preakness future wager. If Crude Velocity does what I think Crude Velocity is capable of and runs off the screen in there, it may take that market, the Preakness future market, a minute to catch up with what they just saw. Check in that market with about 5 minutes to 6. And if he's impressive, and that price for the Preakness looks longer than you're going to get on the day, depending on how good he looked, that might be something that you could do. If not, there's a whole host of other horses. If not, maybe just take your Derby horse and play them back in that Preakness future wager. And then one other horse that is
race 8 on Saturday.
That's right. And then one other I'll give you, just because I do want to give you a little bit of a price after kind of a parade of chalk this time around. Hey, I call him like I see him in the American Turf on Saturday. This is race number 9. I like Alpeland quite a bit for Mark Cassie, a horse who I think could get the right kind of trip. Folks, the hardcores anyway, will remember back in 23, Same Connection sent out Web Slinger to win this race.
Oh, gosh.
Remember that horse?
It got me.
This horse, Alpeland, has been working with Web Slinger. So I figure, maybe it's like a little mentoring session. This is what you need to know, kid, to win the American Turf. On form and figures, the horse just makes sense. Looks overpriced to me at 8-1. Alpeland, the 7 runner in race number 9. Another I'll give to you.
In that race, the number 12 horse by Sherry DeVoe.
Remember Mamba.
It is going to take all of the money. And it is the name. I mean,
a lot of Kobe fans in the Kentucky area.
Oh, but like between that, Jose Ortiz, Sherry DeVoe, she's undefeated. I mean, like, just how do you not? That's going to take so much money. It's 9-2 morning line. That feels like it'll be closer to 5-2.
He'll be back
post time, which is very short for a turf race. But there should be some exciting ones. Hopefully the track is nice and dry to make sure we get them all off. not going to pull any Saratoga nonsense. I know you're partial to Saratoga, but I'm still ready to go fight the stewards for canceling that late pick 5 last year. What a bunch of garbage that was.
Keeneland is my favorite racetrack, so make of that what you will.
Okay. All right. Well, then we won't have to beef. But PTF, it's great. Are you going to be doing another one of your specials in person here?
Yes. When you know what? I'll just for you and your listeners, we'll hold this open one more day. But we're about to close Lexington Wednesday night at the Manchester. If you go to that website I mentioned before, daily2derby.com, you'll see tickets on sale. It's awesome. We got an open bar. We've got food. We've got me, Maggie Wolfendale, Philip Shelton of Medallion, and a little guy called Jake Hay, who are going to be doing our final answer show there. And if you missed that, Louisville, Thursday night, 5:30. I think we're just going to do it in the lobby of the Galt House. We're going to have sort of a gab session answering questions. And hey, the best way to keep track of everything I'm doing, subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. We're making our big push. We're trying to get to 20,000 subs by Derby. We've got so much content on there. The Monster Pods that you've been kind enough to plug, as well as just tons. I can't even begin to list all the content. Get over there, subscribe, and feel free to hit me up in the comments or reach out to me directly. You can go right to my email, inthemoneypodcast.com. There's a contact page on there. We got books for sale. We got questions to answer. This week might not be the best to answer questions, but you know what? Try. If I'm feeling froggy, I'll jump back in and tell you what's up. But Nick, always appreciate the chance to come on and talk to you.
Oh, it's so much fun talking shop. It's the best time of the year. I'll be asking this question for the next 5 days, 100 times. Who's your Derby horse? And now we know for PTF, it is Chief Wallaby. He is ride or dying with his guy, Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado. Best of luck to you, PTF. Let's hope we win all of the bets this weekend. We're going to clean Churchill Downs out. I don't care if they got a rake. We're cleaning them out. We're bringing all the money home, and we hope you do too. We appreciate you all joining us for KSR's Kentucky Derby 152 handicapping extravaganza.